Hello everybody. Today we are starting our study of linguistics. And the study of linguistics constitutes of 5 components. The first one is phonology. Phonology is the study of sounds, of language sounds. Then we have, of course, morphology, which is the study of words and parts of words. So, for example, when we're talking about, is this a noun, is this a verb, an article, a preposition, we're talking about morphology. Also, in terms of parts of words, we're talking about prefixes and suffixes that we can distinguish as parts of a certain words, or the S for plural, or the ing in a verb form, etc. That all of that constitutes the study of morphology. Then at a little bit of a higher level, then we have syntax, which is the study of sentences, how words combine into sentence structures, and of course the relationship within sentences. So then we're talking about subject and object and the structure of sentences, objects of prepositions, and so on. And then we have the study of semantics, which is meaning, right? What do words mean? What do sentences mean? And then lastly, we have the study of pragmatics, which is language use in context. Okay, so for example, in the realm of pragmatics, we would talk about registers, formal and informal register. We don't talk to our friends the same way we talk to our boss, for example. Okay, so today we're starting with the study of phonology. And like I mentioned, phonology is study of sounds. Now, the first distinction we need to make is between phonetics and phonology. Okay, phonetics is a broader study. It's really the study of sounds across languages. Okay, and phonology is the study of sounds used by speakers of a particular language. Okay, so we can talk about the phonology of English, the phonology of Spanish, the phonology of Russian, just those sounds that are present in one particular language. Now, when we're talking about phonetics, we're talking about sounds across languages. So there are many, so for example, linguists who study languages that they might not be familiar with. You have linguists who go and do research with, for example, native communities who are very familiar with sounds that are present in all languages of the world. And they start listening to those languages and they transcribe. And then they start making assumptions and making conclusions about the different rules of phonology for that one particular language. Okay, so for example, you have sounds in certain African languages that have the click, the sounds. Well, of course, that sound is not present in English. Okay, so that's the study of phonetics. Study of phonology then pertains to one particular language. Now, other definitions that are important. When we talk about phonemes, phonemes are the smallest phonetic unit in a language that is capable of conveying a distinction in meaning. Okay, so this is an important distinction. So, for example, how do we determine if one sound in a particular language actually constitutes a phoneme? The way we do that is we think of minimal pairs, what we call minimal pairs, which are two words that are different in meaning in that language and that actually just differ by one phoneme. Okay, so if you want to test, for example, in English, if the p and the b are different phonemes, well, we think of the word pig and big. Oh yes, they do make a difference in meaning. Pig and big, completely different words, just the difference in that one phoneme made a difference in meaning. Now here's an example of an allophone. An allophone is just, it's important to think of allophones in contrast to phonemes. Allophones are different ways of pronouncing the same phoneme. Okay, so when it doesn't make a distinction in meaning, it's just another sound for that same phoneme. Okay, so here's an example. The T in English can be pronounced different ways. It can be aspirated, like in the beginning of a word. For example, the word top, top, top. It's aspirated. If you put your hand in front of your mouth, you can see the air coming out. You can feel the air coming out. Top. You can also put a piece of paper and you go top, right? The paper moves. Now the same phoneme can be pronounced in a different way, but it's still the same phoneme, like in the word stop. Stop. It's not aspirated. The t phoneme is not aspirated, but it's still the same phoneme. It doesn't have a distinction in meaning. There are no words in English where if you change the t sound from aspirated to unaspirated, that would make a difference in meaning. Okay? Here's another example of two different allophones in English. There are two different ways of pronouncing the word little, right? You can either say little or little, right? And there are many words like that. Well, those are two allophones in English. Again, it never makes a distinction in meaning, okay? And other languages have similar, have allophones as well, like the b and v in Spanish. These are allophones of the same phoneme. Okay, now, each phoneme can be described by its place and manner of articulation. Okay, and also by whether or not it is voiced. Just continuing on with some important definitions. Different languages have and use different sets of phonemes. English has about 40 phonemes. We're not talking about the alphabet here. You're talking about sounds of the language. Okay, the unit of sound. And Spanish has about 21 phonemes. So you can imagine how, in terms of pronunciation and complexity of pronunciation, English has 40 phonemes and Spanish has 21. Now, there's no alphabet of any language has a one-to-one correspondence between sounds and letters. Okay? One letter may represent different sounds, and one sound may be represented by different letters, okay, and sometimes more than one letter, a sequence of letters, okay? So let's think about examples for that. One letter representing different sounds, okay? So if you think about the letter A, it can represent different sounds. For example, in the word table, it represents the sound A, table. Now, in a different word like crab, right, the letter A is the word, represents the sound A, crab, or bad, right, same thing. So the same letter can represent different sounds. Now, what was the other thing? One sound may be represented by different letters or sequence of letters. So for example, the sound K in English can be represented either by the letter C, like in cat, or by the letter K, like kite. Okay?